What's your leadership pipeline looking like? Well, in this episode, I share how to build your leadership pipeline. Welcome to Business Leaders Coach, where we educate, enable, equip, and empower you to become the best leader that you can be. My name is Toyo Shimbi, founder of Business Leaders Coach, and we work with CEOs and leadership teams that are moving from startup to scale up. And on this podcast, I bring you practical steps that you can apply in your leadership today. We draw wisdom from some of the best business books, bring on guests, entrepreneurs, and business book authors as well. You can go to businessleaderscoach.com/podcast, subscribe so that we can send you content, templates, or tools that come with subsequent episodes. Now, in this episode, I want to talk about how to build your leadership pipeline. You know, one of the most common mistakes organizations make is not putting enough focus on developing leaders, because typically it is usually when things are too late that they realize that they need more leaders. And what I see is a huge emphasis on adding more staff at the lower end without a comprehensive plan to grow the leadership population. Even though we're going through a pandemic, a lot of companies have an aggressive growth plan, but what you're going to find is that most of them are bringing in more people, but perhaps are not equipping their leadership population to be able to be ready to help these people as they join the organization. So it's a trend that I'm seeing, and this happens a lot. And what tends to happen, right, is that they have a lot of great technicians, or what we will call individual contributors, that are key players in the business. So to give you typical examples, these might be great salespeople that have generated a lot of revenue for the business, or it could be that they are individuals that know the technology, they're engineers, or they built great relationships with customers. And so what happens is now it's time to grow. And so the initial thinking is that, well, we'll just add more people. And when they come, these people will come, hit the ground running. And what I'll do is I'll promote that great salesperson or that engineer into a manager so that he or she can take care of these new people and also pass on that magic touch, right, as we scale, because they did it well. There's some kind of way that they expect them to just transfer that same productivity to the team members. Now, all this sounds good on paper, but in reality, it doesn't work. Why? Well, it's simply because there is a difference between the skill sets in the sales or technical role, what we will call the individual contributor role. And the skill set of being a manager is also different. In episode 35 and 36, we went through the situational leadership, and you'll find that that skill of being able to diagnose, that skill of being able to be flexible, and that skill of being able to partner with your team member and map out what these things are, that's a skill set in itself. And if you haven't listened to those two episodes, it's part 1 and 2 about how to use situational leadership in 6 simple steps, definitely go and listen to that. This is slightly different. This is now how you now take people through the different levels. And if you are a startup going to a scale up, you will find that this is essential to do, not immediately, but at least have the framework in place. Now, the skill sets are different. In fact, Franklin Covey states that there is an 80% difference between the technical role and the manager role. 80%. So when we're asking people to move from a individual contributor role into a manager or leadership role, we are asking them to immediately take on 80% of what they're not doing, right? New skills. So I want to break it down. So in this podcast, I want to share how you can begin to develop the leadership pipeline as you grow your organization. Now, as a reference, if you really want to take this seriously, if you are growing a company that is going to become a Fortune 500 company, then you might want to read the book, The Leadership Pipeline. It's a book by Ram Charan, Steve Drotter, and Jim Noel, as they go through 6 transition levels that an individual contributor needs to go through to become an enterprise leader or a CEO of a huge company. Now, personally, I don't think that many companies want to have too many hierarchical levels, as it does lead to a lot of bureaucracy, right? But so I'm going to go through 5 levels, because a typical startup might end up with 3, 4, or 5 levels. So at some point, you got to look at this situation from your own perspective. Once we get to level 3, you find out that level 3, 4, and 5 can actually be one level, depending on how small or how big the company is. But I am going to walk you through, and this is focusing on the leadership skills, the leadership competency that you need to know, right? If you're going to build this organization out, and it's going to be exponential transformation of knowledge and skills. So let me take you through each level. So level 1 is the individual contributor. Level 2 is what I'm going to simply call leading others. Level 3 is leading leaders. Level 4 is leading the function, while level 5 is leading the organization. And the best way to look at this, for me to simplify it, is that in order for us to be able to make the mindset shift, there are at least 3 specific areas where when you transition from one level to the next, that you have to be aware of. The 3 areas, number 1, there's 4, but I'm going to highlight 3. The 4th one I'll mention, but I'm not going to really focus on it. But the first thing is the results, right? So there will have to be a shift in how you define your key results based on the level you're now at. And I'm going to go through them in a simplified way. And I will also have the template that you'll be able to download. So then the second thing, so the first one are the key results. The second will be the allocation of time. The allocation of time will simply be, because these results are now shifted, where you now spend your time, how you spend your time should also follow through, because of the kind of results you want to get from this role, this level. And then the third area is then the work value. So the work value is where you now place emphasis on. It's where you're now placing, you now value this over that. And if I was to pause here, I would say that this demonstrates when you have understood the mindset shift. In fact, we can simply follow you for a week and see how you spend your time. That would tell us you understand, you've made the shift, right? And then the 4th will be then the skills that are needed at this new level. And we don't have enough time to be able to go through that. And so I'm just going to focus on the results, the time, and the work value. So let me just give you a breakdown of this in a very simple way. There's a lot more behind it, but it begins to help you understand, are we preparing our leadership population for these shifts? Okay, so let's start off with the individual contributor, which we're calling level 1. So level 1 could be the technician, level 1 could be the salesperson, level 1 can be the engineer, it could be the accountant. It doesn't matter which department, it's the person who is doing the work. Now, the key results in this case is their own individual effort. This is where the performance review is asking, what did you do? So if you're a salesperson, we want to know, did you bring in the sales? If you're the accountant, did you do the books? Did you do those things that were necessary for you to do, right? And so obviously it follows that if we're thinking about the time allocated, you need to allocate time for your work. Do what you've been hired to do and produce results based on that. So the working value will be to, obviously, you do have to value your own time in order to do that. And most of the times you're also part of a team. So helping and collaborating with others will be something that will be required of you at this role. And if I was to mention anything about the skills, what you are expected is to grow in your competency on that level. Okay, so that's you as an individual contributor. And many of us start there, right? So we start there. Now we're going to start talking about adopting the leadership habits and the leadership behaviors that's going to help you move forward. So the next level, which is level 2, is leading others. And this is where the mindset shift begins to happen. How we define how you get results. So now you get results through others. So if you are leading others, then the expectation is that through your team is how we're going to redefine your success. If your team is doing well, then you are doing well. And this is partly the reason why you see that when sports teams aren't doing well, they fire the manager. You're expected to get results through others. So what would this then demonstrate when it comes to time allocation? And this is the part that I see when people either get it or not. And I've been training and coaching many managers and leaders, and even just at this level. And you could imagine, even when it comes to a small business, a CEO of a business, sometimes they don't want to let go. But I'm going to mention here the one thing that you can look for when it comes to time. You need to now allocate time to help develop those others. And in addition to that, it will involve sharing the vision and purpose of the organization and how it relates to the team and the individuals of that team. That's part of your role. So on the leadership side, and then there'll be many other things that you'll be required to do. I am just honing in on this leadership attribute. So the working value, so the work value is that you need to now value the fact that your success is through how your team operates. And as long as that is aligned to the overall company and purpose, the company purpose and vision. So the skill sets that you're now going to start adopting are more people skills. And this continues throughout. Leading others, get results through others. That's level 2. Level 3 is then leading leaders. Leading leaders. This is where many people struggle, because if you've been in that leading others role, it is also a really good role because you're working with people, you're helping them be productive, you're coaching them, you're mentoring. This is where, so level 2 is actually where situational leadership really plays a key role, right? But level 3 is then you working with leading those that are leading others. So now your definition is to get results through the leaders. So your work is based on you allocating time to develop other leaders of others. And this is where, let me just pause here, because some people will hear this and they won't really get it. On the leadership side, your role is to allocate time to develop the leaders of others. And one of the behaviors that is important to demonstrate when you ask questions to this person. Let me give you questions that don't reinforce this mindset. So if a person A is leading a team of, salespeople or engineers, and things aren't being done on time, or money's not coming in as expected, and I ask this person, what are you doing to bring this money in? What are you doing to get the projects done on time? Right? Just that question alone can reinforce the wrong behavior. Typically what happens is this. You see, that person who's leading others, because they've done the job, if they were a salesperson, they will go out and close more deals. Because why should my manager be on my back when I can do this myself? You get it? I can do this myself, and so I'll just go and fix it. And it's the same with the engineer or the technician or the IT person. Why aren't these projects being done on time? You know what? I'm going to step in and I'm going to do it. And there will be times where that's needed. Okay, there will be times when that's needed. But if it's the pattern, what the leading leader, the one who's leading leaders, is doing is reinforcing a behavior from the one leading others that you need to keep going down to level 1 and be an individual contributor. And it's just by those type of questions. So if I ask a different question to the one leading others and I say, how are you helping your team to bring in more deals? Or how are you supporting your team on making sure that these projects are being done on time? What are you doing with person A? Talk to me. How are you helping person B? You get my point? Can you see that just by these questions, I am reinforcing the fact that your role is to get results through your people, not for you to go and do it yourself. And it might be a very simple thing, but from research, we know that even just those type of questions, and in my own experience, I've witnessed this, I've seen it myself, where, I can see why people feel the burden, right? I hear it all the time. Trust me on this. And so so are we preparing our leaders for the next level if we keep reinforcing that? Because what that also says is that when you get to my level, these are the questions that you would ask your leading leaders at level 2. You get it? And that's the reason why many companies end up in this spiral, that they have people with these titles, but they are not really playing their role at that level. I hope this is making sense. So the shift in level 3 is to now value the fact that your success is through how your leaders are able to build productive teams. All right, that you want your leaders to be able to get results through their teams and support and encourage and coach and train and mentor and do all those things. And those are the kind of questions that you need to be asking the ones that are at level 2. So if you're at level 3, I hope it's not confusing you. I hope it's just simply stating what you need to be doing when you are that leading leaders at level 3. So let's now go to level 4. Typically in an organization, if there is a level 4 and it's not the CEO, then it will most likely be your leading functions. You're leading a department. So let's put it down as that. Now, what's the function here? How do we now determine the results? We're getting results through the function or department, okay? And most likely you would have direct reports that will be leading leaders. So you have level 3s reporting into you, and you now have functions that you are overseeing. And so on the leadership side, now there could be other technical things that you need to know and to do. But one of the things that is important still is to allocate time to develop your leaders of leaders, to really focus on helping them with all the things that I just mentioned. If somebody just came into that role from a level 2, for instance, you can see that shift in question is a key behavior shift, and helping them to spend time with their leaders and helping them to support them in doing that. So that's part of your role at this functional level. So you need to now value the fact that your success is through how your leaders of leaders are able to execute on your strategy for the function. And that's another area that you now need to start thinking about. I didn't mention this, but level 3 will also cascade the purpose and vision of the business down to their team leaders, right? And help them understand it in a relatable way. So in level 3, you're going to need to allocate time to develop other leaders. You're going to also share the vision and purpose of the organization with your level 2. And at level 4, you're also now going to be the one to design or maybe help to articulate the strategy for the function that is aligned to the overall organization's strategy. So level 4, you're getting results through your leader of leaders. You're also designing strategy that's aligned to the overall business strategy, and you value your time because success is now defined by you working through your leader of leaders. And then we get to the last level, which I'm calling level 5. You're now leading the organization, so you are getting results through the entire function. It's aligned with the overall business strategy. I think that's quite clear in terms of what's expected of you, the revenue of the whole entire business, customer relationships, building relationships with your stakeholders, investors, etc. But your allocation of time is still key. You also need to allocate time to communicate to your entire organization on a regular basis. That's one area. The other area is to allocate time still to work with your direct reports. And in that capacity, you are still encouraging them. You're still asking them questions around who are they developing? Who are they asking questions to about the cascading down of succession planning? Things like that. You need to ask questions around how your direct reports are developing their teams and their leader of leaders. That's how this leadership pipeline thing keeps cascading down. And even you need to have somebody in mind who perhaps can replace you. You get my point? So that there is a leadership pipeline in place. And if it's not focused on, if the question isn't happening or isn't being asked, nobody's focusing on it. So there are lots of other things that you need to do. You need to set direction for the company. All this is determining the company culture. All these things are helping you to share where the business is going. But when it comes to the leadership part of it, asking this question is really important. So there you have it. You've got the 5 levels of leadership, right? And now we're talking about how to build this leadership pipeline, and it's by defining the key results at each level. So if we're going to simplify this, we would say if you're an individual contributor, you focus on your own results. But the moment you step up to level 2, it always begins to shift. So you are redefining success at level 2 because you're getting your key results through others. And when you're at level 3, you're getting your key results through your leaders. And when you're at level 4, you're getting your key results through your function or your department. And when you're at level 5, which could be the CEO, you're getting your results through the entire organization. And more important, this has to show up by how you allocate your time. So if you were to really understand if this is happening, we will be able to see that once you are at level 2, which is that you're leading others, you're allocating time to spend with your team members. If you're at level 3, you're allocating time to spend with your leaders, your direct reports, who are first line leaders. If you are level 4, you are allocating time to spend with your leader of leaders. And if you are at level 5, you're allocating time to spend with your functional leaders. That could be in a slightly different capacity to talk about strategy, to talk about the overall plan, not necessarily always about you developing them, but definitely keeping them on their toes that they are developing those at the level below them. So there you have it, how to build your leadership pipeline following these 5 levels. I have created a template with the 5 levels, so you can go to businessleaderscoach.com/leadership pipeline and you'll be able to download that. So while you're there, why not subscribe as well so that we can send this to you in your inbox on a weekly basis. For now, this is Toyo Shimbi for Business Leaders Coach. Speak to you soon.